Hey everyone, Ava here. I just wanted to stop in and get this off of my mind. I was just in a group meeting with a couple of other people that are really wonderful, wonderful group of women. And one of the women was talking about how she's having a really difficult time in her business. And she specifically was talking about how this is year 4 of her business. And she's sort of struggling to kind of get to this next place. And immediately my mind started going off. I had all kinds of ideas about it because it's exactly what happened to me. And it's exactly what I'd seen happen with most of the clients that I've had in the past, whether you're in leadership at the nonprofit level, or you do NGO stuff, or you're, a traditional entrepreneur in some kind of a business. Year 4 is ridiculously difficult, even if you're doing really well. And one of the reasons why is because the number 4 as a vibration, just in general, has a very Saturn kind of a vibe. And basically what it asks you is a couple of things. One, it's foundational, right? So are all the pieces that you need for your business actually in place? That's the first thing. The second thing is, what sacrifices are you willing to continue to make to continue the business, right? So those are the two main things. And what I found was with myself is that I actually had to completely shut down my business completely, because it had gotten so bad, especially the way that I was doing it and the way this particular woman was talking about it. You get to the point where you haven't really been making any money, right? Like maybe you've been breaking even or losing money even for like the entire time that you've been in business. And the reason for that is very personal. It has nothing to do with the business. You can hire all kinds of fancy people to come in and help you, whether they're accountants or marketers or all kinds of click funnels and tools and stuff. I spent more money hiring people for that kind of stuff than I actually probably spent in the business itself, like actually delivering the service, because I couldn't figure it out. And what I couldn't figure out was me. Basically, it's much like when you're walking, you're on a hill and you're sort of walking towards a horizon. And as you're moving forward, you can see kind of out in front of you, like you can see, a little bit more as you move forward, step by step. What happens if you're in a business and you haven't done all the work that you need to in order to move forward is you get to a point and you hit a stopping point. And it's totally invisible to you. You can't see it. Nobody else is coming in here to help. You can see it. But that stopping point is basically all of your limiting beliefs. It's all your childhood traumas and whatever you want to call it. I don't care if you believe in magic, don't believe in magic, or you believe in the psychology of it, whatever it is. The things, your mindset, the way that you perceive yourself and how you come to the table to solve other people's problems, right? Because that's what your cause or your business is about. The way that you perceive those things is what keeps you in a container. And if your perception of yourself is this big, then that's the movement you're going to have. And if your perception of yourself and your capacities are this big, then that's the range you're going to have. And so if you've been milling about in 4 years in this kind of little box, you hit a stopping point and you can't see over the horizon or Verizon. Is that even actually a word or just a brand? We don't know. But either way, you can't really see, you don't have a vision beyond where you are because you're stuck in your own mindset. And whatever you bring in, whether, these other professionals in terms of like, or the software and the growth tools and all of that stuff, is just going to basically bring you more of the same because you're approaching the problem with the same perception that you already have. So you're coming to the table thinking about yourself, your problems, your capacity, whatever, the same way you always have. This person is going to respond at that same level. So you're not going to do anything except spin your wheels. It's a variation on a theme, right? Like the same thing, different day, more money, more time, whatever. Until you kind of become brave enough to stop what you're doing and really ask yourself, what's hanging you up? Where are you not expanding or growing in your inner world? For me, that was about boundaries. I had horrible boundaries. I had issues with, and this is really funny because a lot of entrepreneurs and leadership people look to others and even to themselves, like they've got it together, they're confident, they can do it, right? Because you're going out there and moving forward. But what I found with myself and with other leaders is a lot of that confidence is a bit of false confidence, because it might be coming from a place where your confidence is based on the achievement, which is another place that tension comes in at year 4 with the business. You want to keep going and going and going and achieving and achieving and achieving, but you've reached the capacity, your achievement capacity, with the mindset that you have at that place. And so it can get really, really frustrating and really confusing. The other thing that will tend to happen at this point is it will seem like hellfire is raining down on you from God knows where. Tornadoes, earthquakes, computer glitches, this person quit, you can't find whoever you hired last week, all that kind of thing. It starts to happen and it looks new, right? It looks new. It's not. That stuff has been coming for 6 months, a year, 2 years before you got here, and you couldn't see it because you were so grinding and like tooling away at these sort of like obvious metrics like money or clients or whatever. And because a business is so much of a spiritual path, it is also so much of a relationship that it's just like any other relationship, right? Like if you have a partner, let's say, and you're off doing some other thing, maybe you're working on something or you're socializing or you're overdoing it someplace outside the home or outside the relationship, you might come back home one day and that person's like, we're done here, and it's because you've been so busy off and away and not necessarily nurturing what needs to be nurtured within the relationship that you missed it. And a lot of the reasons why it happens in relationships is a lot of the reasons why it happens in business. You work on the things that are familiar to you. You work on the things that feel good or at least feel like there's something that you can conquer or control or maintain. But we tend not to work on the things that are weak for us. We tend not to work on our weaknesses. And so over time, year 1, you can kind of cover it up with a couple of fancy splash pages and a website and a few cool investors. Year 2, it's a little sketchy, but you're good. You're still kind of riding that high from year 1. Year 3, things start to look serious, but now year 3, it's loans, it's grant programs and, other aids, so to speak, come in to help you and all of this kind of thing. And it looks okay. Year 4, shit gets real. And I know a lot of people have said it's year 5 that, businesses fail. Businesses start failing beginning year 4. Just from what I've seen, my own experience, that's when it starts to happen. And so basically, in order for you to move forward, what you have to think about at this point now, it doesn't mean that you have to quit. Some people do. I did. I just was done. But what you can do is you can possibly transform yourself within the business. But what has to happen while you're transforming is that whatever level you're performing at within that business has to at least die down a bit. Or no, that's not true. Has to die down a lot, right? So for me, what I did was I was like, well, I will close the brick and mortar. I'll close the storefront, but I'll still do projects here and there on the side while I kind of get myself together and pull my inner spiritual life and my mind back in my body, and everything will be good. And what I found was that over time, even doing those little side projects, I didn't want to do them anymore. Because for me, I'd actually, as I was growing and healing myself to a degree, whether it was from old childhood stuff or limiting beliefs that I had about myself, as I started doing that, the business itself wasn't sexy to me anymore, or the projects at least weren't. I also started to see other holes that I had in the original business model, like the fact that I was directly competing with my clients. There were so many self-help tools and so many DIY tools that people had access to. It was kind of like, why are we hiring this person? Why are we hiring Ava to do da 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 da? And the people who got me really got me. They loved me. They wanted to keep paying. They wanted to keep going, and they were awesome clients. But there weren't enough of those kinds of people who also respected me and respected my expertise enough to keep paying me to sustain the business. And so it had to go. And, you know, sometimes, just like I said, in relationships, businesses are the same. Sometimes you can have a karmic business, just like you can have a karmic relationship, right? This is a business where, you know, it might be a business where there's some things you have to learn. And most of the things you have to learn aren't even about business. I'm telling you, you can take infinite growth management courses and all kinds of fancy accounting tools and whatever. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to do what you need to do with them, mostly because your mind and your ego, your sense of boundary, all kinds of stuff just kind of come into play. And you're like, this doesn't really work for me. And for me, it was with sales. You know, I mean, I had people come up to me, they're like, hey, Ava, if you get 100 people in the door, you know, you get 2% of those people to sign up for an email thing. If half of those people click on your ad, then, you know, you'll have more than enough for the year. You know, these are how the metrics work. But the metrics don't mean shit if Ava's scared to talk to people, if Ava's afraid of rejection, if I'm thinking like, man, you know, do I look stupid going up to this person asking them out the blue for whatever? Now, the other thing that comes with that is timing, because that was what it was with me. I thought, man, I don't really like going out and doing these kind of salesy, direct hit kind of things. And I was right, because now you go to LinkedIn and your whole direct message is full of people who have that same mentality of KPIs. And I'm going to, if I get 20 people to respond to this email, then da 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 da. And it's like, we all know the system now, so nobody's really responding to it, right? So that's the other thing, is I actually over time gained confidence in my own intuition in the way that I wanted to do business, because I was able to get in touch with myself and allow the world to do what the world will do. Now I can come back into the game, whatever that game might be moving forward, with some confidence and say, hey, you know, that's not how I roll. Do I need to sell? Do I need to go out there and get business in order to sustain the thing? Absolutely. Do I want to do it like that? Hell no. And I'm not going to, right? But I now have the confidence and the inner understanding in order to do that and to move forward. So I think that that's kind of all. I'm feeling kind of empty and complete now. I don't feel like there's much else to say. I just hope that this helps in some capacity. So do you absolutely need to close the business and move on? Maybe. There are just some sacrifices that you're going to have to make. And most of that sacrifice doesn't have anything to do with time or money. That sacrifice has everything to do with how much of what you think you know about yourself you're willing to lay down and surrender. So yeah, that's what I have. If y'all have any questions, I'm going to remember to put the information in the description box below. I do have a business course coming up in October, I think we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We are going to do it. Soul Ventures in October. So make sure, if it's something that you're interested in, leading a spiritual business or a spiritual organization, or just being a spiritual aware person for yourself and leading for yourself, that is something that we'll be working on at the end of this season, or the beginning of fall rather. So again, hope this helps. Have a good one. Bye.